soha om tare tu re 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 soha. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create, by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings.
Lost. You should do things, right? You should do 26. 다랑 신주민 되면다. 된데도는 좀만이 지들보나 시직라. 민게도 원이도 줄르스. 들지 때는 좀 란신지는 되면은 넘버 인야 되나왜 지금 좀 마신도 송스. 다 당보 셜로가 당보도 직단은 되도.
So yeah, looking at 26 where it says intrinsic nature, uncreated and non-contingent, dependent origination, contingent and created. How can these two converge upon a single basis without contradiction?
다 디기 디 랜디 용당데 다 당보데 알아서 디상로 거고 있으래. 오케이. 제상가 더버도 저 가르스나 랑신기 코랑기 뇌에 안에 뭐두나 아니 준제된제 적사기 시고란 라그민두스 라베이나 아니 텔레야다 아파 가조마소네 렌마소네 반데 팅규비기 렌 가르중구여스나 아니 따탄다 딜레지 정신 주민 되면서 정신 신년대 죄마멤바 대바매바 덴데지라 정신스기 요르스 다 덴데 신년대 아니 대바 죄마마임바 덴데지 시고레스 덴데디 시지기 땡도 아니 긴도 매바 간데스 대토레스.
So here, the sort of the main sort of doubt that comes up in general is the idea that if something that is not established, it doesn't have the nature which of existing from its own side, and is not established by that nature of existing from its own side, then how could you get a kind of foundation or basis on which to sort of present and to understand for the how could you get a basis for cause and effect, the process of cause and effect to occur? if there's nothing established from the side of the phenomena. And so then Prasangika's answer to that is contained within the first 2 lines of the verse, where they're giving us the here it's the intrinsic nature, uncreated and contingent, and then dependent origination, contingent and created. So then they're saying that, and then so the sort of the bigger doubt that's coming up here then is, if you have these 2 things, one uncreated, the intrinsic nature uncreated and non-contingent, and you have dependent origination, contingent and created, how would it be possible for both of these 2 to converge, to come upon a single basis without having some form of philosophical contradiction?
Tadi indu tsambe tinjung kelen tsabe shula ane rangshin ju drubade demane yangsaj mebade kagyores demane number 1 tenang wes korangi ngene demane druba yomarede yinayang ter nangchur kunjob nangchur pumba nangchur ter nangwe nawadi country ji yores lamna gyuma shindu songs gyume nangchuna shiris gyuma sinye korangi ngene talang tsini du druba jik 통구 열에데 따랑 친이도 주바 요 말에 이나야 따랑 친이바 요 말에데 이나야 규메 따랑 레스 랍토레스 이나야 따랑 친이바 주바 시디간 요 말아 봐스 제상아 최탐지 규마신도 송스 다디 딱다루 요레스
and so here also this brings in verse 27, so maybe scroll down to verse 27 as well. 27. That's it, yeah. So then it says, therefore, whatever originates dependently, though primordially free of intrinsic existence, appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So you taught all this to be illusion-like. And so this what it's saying here, so therefore the way that the sort of answering the doubts and questions from above are to say that if you really accept things to be dependent arisings to be dependently originated, then they will have to be completely free of any form of intrinsic existence, any form of sort of intrinsic nature from their own side, and this will be they're primordially free of that. So they've always forever been completely free of that intrinsic nature. Once we accept that the truth of dependent origination, they must be primordially free of this intrinsic nature, and yet they are able to appear. So the conventional phenomena, such as clay pots and other conventional phenomena, are still able to appear. So although lacking any intrinsic nature, they're still able to appear, and they appear in the sort of mode of an illusion. So because of the
gyume talangdi 코랑경에 친이바 직능게 열데 코랑경에 친이바 요마레스 코랑경에 친이바 통고를 방안죠 코랑경에 친이바 있다고 여배 있나요 코랑경에 친이바 매바디 가지고 통고열 이나야 규메 달랑데 요마레스 랍고고면도 와
Yes, so we can think of this in a way of in terms of thinking about so we say that they appear like an illusion, right? So the way that we would think of this is in the sense of I think an example that we think we used earlier in terms of illusory horses and elephants is an example used in the sutras and shastras, and the sort of created the illusion of an illusory appearance of horses and elephants. Actually, so they appear to exist as though they are real horses and elephants in this kind of magical trick. They appear to exist as horses and elephants. But actually, from their own side, there's no real horses and elephants at all. They're an illusion. They appear to exist as really those the horses and elephants, but in fact, there's no actual real horse and elephant there. So they are in that sense an illusion. in the same way they don't exist intrinsically from their own side, yet are still able to appear. Oh, and we can't say that there's no illusion like, we can say there's no real horses and elephants, but we can't say there's no illusion like horses and elephants. The illusory horses and elephants exist.
The illusory horses and elephants have the defining characteristic of being like a horse and an elephant, so you can distinguish them as a horse and an elephant, but they're not established by that defining characteristic. That defining characteristic doesn't have the power to establish them as a real horse and elephant.
To ride the illusory horse, you need an illusory ticket to show. Yeah. Okay. That di kuyore. That the Jeremiah song di those shije song ke thole ta na rangshin sinye di ane khandej kores. Ngote china de rangshin sinye di ane 저거 저 마줘봐 마돼봐 드리지 고그레스 정신 신이들라 제마 멤버 대바 멤버스 드리지 고그레스 드리 송도 다디 단데 저런 버지 그 송도 수철 따나 정신 세야디 같이 정신 신이들도 샤도 손도 줘다 가제 정신도 수여버려 요래 지난에다 겨숑 그난로라야 라바도 반된다와 제베기 아니 오마식시 rabju chunga banana khadu to jebi na ani rangsin sinye de jumi demi se de changlo bi rabju chunga banana yo che jaza di ngo de che won de de cancer yo de jaza danda cholo da de ni dan yu di chite ba chana o di omasikse ge na lo le ya ani zelen jinang che ani 지게 취 차와데 아니 직된 안로래 취랑 힘만인스 가자 취랑 힘만인스도 취 차와데 취랑 힘만인스도 띵에 켈링이요스 그러와 되네 니버 지ganjo 디지레 매 차와데 니 매랑 힘만인스기니스 제시도 다 직된 방향도 와라 세상은 랑심만 있어도 좀 다디 강조 용라로 봐 근데 랑심만 비 좀센들 가를 거요래 오마 식세 나라 디 랑심 외국 말이스 계란조다 라구도스 니디 외국 말이스 매우 좀센 가르스나 랑게 친이데 대비치로스 렌디겨요다 랑게 친이데 대비치로스 제장가 랑심 신이데라 랑게 친이데 대와지고르스 랑게 친이데 태워지고 랑게 친이세도 간들시고 할세도 캐주얼 때는도 샤돼야 지다 때는도 샤고야 지 캐주얼 때는 샤고야 근데 중사나 랑신을 때버스 랑신 캐주얼 때로 와봐 엄마 때는 샤고야 짱짱 시고르스 제장가 랑신 신이데 커도 바 반전 다와 잡에 문제 나온도 잠배 아니 정신을 찍매도 매딩 소리지. 정신을 찍마도 매도 소리지. 알아서 동반님마도 매딩이지. 또 송요다.
And so to expand a little bit on from what is being said in the verses here, in these two verses, and which is where the discussion is about talking about the nature of things. So actually in the translation they call it the intrinsic nature, the lie. So there's a little bit complication here.
This is Tubdi Jimbala's translation. I know.
He's a great Jeremiah follower. So he's
Or self-establishing nature.
Yes. Yes, all it actually says in the text is ranjing, which means like it just says nature actually, it doesn't say anything else. It says the nature is uncreated and non-contingent. Dependent origination is contingent, so it doesn't have this intrinsic bit added to it.
It has the word self.
Yeah, it just says nature, right? Yeah.
Self-nature.
Self-nature. So self-nature is uncreated and contingent, dependent origination, contingent and uncreated. So it's so here there is a sort of J. Rinpoche is sort of moving towards qualifying it by saying intrinsic nature, not just saying nature or self-nature. He's qualifying it by saying this intrinsically established nature. But if you go back to Chandrakirti in his commentary on Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom called The Clear Words, there you don't see these qualifications. It literally just says, nature is uncreated and non-contingent. And so there's a kind of, that sounds a bit strange. There's a kind of debate here, because within the Clear Words, Chandrakirti says that he's sort of debating, and he says that if we say to ordinary people, is the heat of water the nature of water? The heat of water, the nature of water? Everybody say no, the heat of water is not the nature of water. So then he'll ask them, is the heat of fire the nature of fire? And ordinary people will say yes. And in this text, in the Clear Words, what he says is, I don't accept it to be that. I don't. It's not worthy for me. In my perspective, it's not worthy to the heat of fire. It's not worthy to be the nature of fire. Now this is going to because it's devoid of the characteristics of nature. That's how he said. That's how he puts it.
Characteristics of water.
Ranjing is sani dan doi cheers.
Rangshing is seen the Tibecheros.
Ranjing yebam ranjing ma yin.
Rangshing is seen la madeba.
So the characteristics or defining characteristics of nature are being uncreated or uncontrived or non-contingent. Those are the characteristics. So he's saying that the nature of the heat of fire is not the nature of fire, because it's devoid of the characteristics of nature, of the nature of it, which are to be uncreated and non-contingent.
Now this when I was going through this text in Lama Tsongkhapa in the I think last year, it was like wow. That's like, even because I gave this teaching without my teacher's kind of explanation, I was just reading it. I start sweating. Not because I feel like something realization coming in, but it's more like how to put this together.
Which one is non-created and non-reliant? The Rangitsenyi or
Rangshin?
The Rangshin.
The Rangshin, Sinyade, Madjeba, it's there.
Right, the Rangshin is that.
Yeah. Nature.
That makes sense.
What is the nature? That's it.
Sorry, Rinpoche said one thing also that I forgot to translate. So he says for Chandrakirti, there's only one thing that he identifies as being Ranjing nature, and that's emptiness. Emptiness is the only thing which is identified as being nature, the nature undependent, uncreated.
So one, yeah.
It's the only thing that has the characteristics.
So through these texts, many in the Tibet, in India, there's only one truth. And then also these Chandrakirti's code becomes quite famous for the non-Gelugpas to prove that 제장가 디시고르와 동번이 통년지 간디지 거래스라나 아니 짐바추님 짐바 창마도 채와 저바 탐제도 채와 지고 그랬어 제장가 아니 아주 리비 두제 당체 아니 제바 참아 이렇게 제바게 아니 던담대바 통화데 던담대바 친이바 통화요 말했어 가전서나 단동양 딜가나 짐발 하샤스 또 매버 진디 거봐 짐발 하디샤 단도 줘봐도 돼요 말했어 그 대코나니 통투요 말했어 가전서나 통부 동번이 통니 당부 통니의 컨디션 통고서 나 문에 통나 아니 마줘봐 마돼봐 어딘데지 랑시 통고 요러와 어디 송고와.
And so, yeah, there becomes quite a debate between particularly between the schools of the Gulupa and the other sort of Nyingma-Kach's schools, where they talk about seeing the argument for there being only one truth, and that the argument comes that to see suchness, complete suchness, it has to be seen free from all kind of mental fabrications and free from all sort of grasping, any form of grasping at all, and that for the sort of systems such as Kagyu and Nyingma, they say the real ultimate truth cannot be realized or apprehended by a sort of a reasoning consciousness, a sort of inferential cognition, so the reasoning consciousness of inferential cognition, that is not able to actually see the real ultimate, because there's still a kind of clinging or grasping, which is that you're grasping to the fact that nature doesn't exist. There's no intrinsic existence. That mind which realizes that there's no intrinsic existence conceptually is still holding to the fact that that's non-existent. The intrinsic nature is non-existent. So for them that's a kind of clinging, and therefore that prevents you from seeing the real suchness. And so the only time that you would be able to see the real suchness is when you really see this uncreated, non-contingent nature, and that's the only point. So conceptual consciousness is not able to do that for that system.
So also, this one. If you remember the Diamond Cutter Sutra, in there, when Buddha says, people know me they know me through my aggregates, my speech, my feeling, so on. But I will hold the position, they don't know me. That's now it's going there. So then he said, who knows me? In order to know me, you need to understand my emptiness. So that is how Chandrakirti is also saying, in order to know the nature of the phenomena or self, you need to understand the voidness or the emptiness. This is how it goes. So Lama Tsongkhapa will not just go directly there. He's on that path, but he is being super careful here, because he wanted to not to jump very quick decision and then we regret. So he will take us in a very, what do we call it, on a smooth way. Bit longer, because if it is a shortcut, okay, which many other great masters has got it, they have this VIP pass, so they can go through. But now there is only one road, which is quite smooth, good for us, but we don't have any merit to understand that. So we go through that. So there Lama Tsongkhapa was saying, well, so in here, it will come up, then I will just tell you now. He's saying, I have put so much effort now at the time of this age, where time is going towards the death, but now I can see the very small summary, the quality, small quality sigma. Chashijik.
I can see one small part of
the quality of the great Buddha. Now I'm seeing. So I'm so fortunate. He says there. He's not saying I have seen completely. So he's saying I have seen a part. So there, all the commentary by the master is saying, seeing the emptiness, not directly, but seeing through the investigation by how the Chandrakirti and the Nagarjuna's way, they put it, he has realized through the valid cognition way, which is very important. So this we need to, in order to, through the way of understanding of valid cognition, then it is so inferential valid cognition. Inferential valid cognition. It is, there's no ability at the moment that you can see how the Aryas is seeing the suchness. So that you need to keep in your mind.
No, I just wanted to clarify this thing about self-nature and defining characteristic. Self-nature is the voidness of a phenomenon, and that is what allows things to function. And that is permanent because it's a self-nature, so it's separated from the defining characteristic of something, which is a convention, so it's dependent and so on. So that statement makes sense.
Yeah. So, this one. So I hope you got a little taste of it. Tadiche. Digging you machine to song. Tadi next to that. Chuji jidar tembala kawa gujan chudun de lami nyeba songayan dini gini lebar kum chile chini dishebe tonda madong obolo jodo badang guji ju kogarindu zechiru chuji maon dameba tongwe jinsin tenchungi lamdi nizun tsemara juba nyeba jesi shologa sumdugdwe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we'll read the next three verses, 28, 29 and 30. So it says, through this very fact I understand well the statement that to what you have taught those opponents who challenge you cannot find faults that accord with reason. And 29. Why is this so? Because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. And 30. Through this very path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech being peerless, convictions arise in me also that your other words are valid too.
This one? That in Domjabji, that is one bush and go to Toto.
So I'm going to give you a summarized version of all three rather than going through each one.
Yeah. So now we need to go faster. So, dinang ya jezanga ta sanji chumden digi an sunji chumden tel ya jidane ta jigi chömang go songba tel ya ani kakwa shibuji dabne ta chiruba yinere ta chiruba ba ta chirube nan kakwa shibuji bang jagdus ani alhaba to naba sanjebe nan lo ya sanji chumden digi kongba di ani dimare diresen de ma go dabdi go ba jezanga ta dinjige zeba mangbo di go chuya di ngeng kawanen gason kawane meba chason sidu an sanje chumden di sungbe gi tongba da dinjuni gi gewa mebe gi tone ani tawa ten la padang di an nyege je wando zambe ani nyege da jik sanje chumden di gi che kang sungba tada tamje da jik le junje yine re jik ngondo gi gewa lendang ani jik jimba tangwale ronjo chongya 아니 추림 송말에 지게 댄저를 미루 탑이야 간치 진배 있네 다다 탐지를 이제 뷰타 부진해야 돼 자와더데 딘중송 텔을 때네 고규를 쳐 좋아 모두 제발 때네 고규를 쳐도 모두 제발게 때네 애니에게 이제 녀송스 다디 송고도.
So here, to sort of give a summary of the meaning contained within those 3 verses, then, in terms of the Buddha's given us an entire, a huge, vast array of different kinds of teachings, and then on the basis of those vast array of teachings, there have been many from outside the Buddhist tradition, sort of from non-Buddhist schools, who have contended with what the Buddha has said and tried to refute what the Buddha has presented. And then even within the Buddhist tradition itself, you see a huge variety of sort of explanations and different ways of commenting on what the real intention, the sort of thought of the Buddha really was. So you have this whole array of sort of different sort of discussions and debates about what the Buddha said, but to sort of put an end, to sort of clarify all that and to put an end to all of that sort of debate and confusion, what J. Rinpoche is saying to us here is that by the way to properly ascertain the view that the Buddha intended is to present the view in the way in which dependent origination and the empty nature of things are not in contradiction to each other. And so whatever, so that then, because of the Dinjun Dojo Toba La Sopa Dinsuki, because
다지 남샤준도 타신 타와 망고주 송야 고주구체. 아니 고다 신고구체.
신고
아니 고주구체 다 탐지 얘기다 동바 띵중그 된 그 되게 나라 고하다 편도다 드주드니 체면 예바예바 인자 아니 다 탐지를 얘기다 좀 된들이야 아니 지견 주디야디 견 매바다 아니 공글 송디 덴바 임바딩아 이지니 송스.
So then, of course, the Buddha had made many different kinds of statement about things to do, how to, particularly about karmic cause and effect, about how to attain higher states of rebirth through attaining precious human rebirth through causes, the certain causes of precious human rebirth, the results of ethical discipline leading us to attaining a higher rebirth. So he spoke about, in many ways, about these conventional phenomena, which many of which to actually really ascertain them are very hidden, extremely hidden phenomena actually, particularly things like law of karmic cause and effect. They're very hard, extremely hard to ascertain as they are very hidden phenomena. But what J. Rinpoche says is that being able to understand, ascertaining the view through this presentation of how dependent origination and emptiness are not in contradiction to each other, and then being able to see that the emptiness is the meaning of dependent origination, and being able to sort of using what we call reason by power of the fact, which is able to then develop an apprehension or realization of the emptiness and dependent origination, particularly emptiness being the meaning of dependent origination. And this is something J. Rinpoche is saying to us, this is something I've been able to ascertain through this use of reasons grounded in fact, is literally called Nuto Giripa. And then I can understand the Buddha to be faultless in that way, and in terms of the way that he presented the view, and I can, having been able to ascertain that view for myself, then I, as it sort of says in verse 29, where it talks about things, these things that I've been able to see myself, I develop my faith in the Buddha in relation to those, and therefore have faith in the other things which are less able to directly see. So I see him as faultless. I see him as faultless in this regard, and then can understand he is faultless in other regards.
So it's similar. It's similar how Dharmakirti, when he holds a position, when non-Buddhist debates towards him and saying, "Why you don't take refuge in my teacher? Why Buddha?" because my teacher also talks similar as a Four Noble Truths. And the Gautama is speaking similar here. And my teacher has all the powers that what you are looking for. And then he has the clairvoyance, and he can do all the magical stuffs. So then here the Dharmakirti said a very powerful statement saying, the reason why I took Buddha as a refuge is not because how you just explained, that he is powerful, he is loving, kind, or so on. It is necessary, but this is what not I'm looking at this moment. At the moment, what I'm really looking for the teacher is that I have come to the point where I realize wherever I go, where this mind is with me, I will be always very unhappy, because I really need to tame this mind which is connected to this grasping, self-grasping. I know this. So I know this Buddha has the ability to help me, not other than Buddha. That's why I have taken a refuge in the Buddha. So, like here Lama Tsongkhapa says, now all these teachings of the Buddha, and then what people think of Buddha, now I could totally understand that how the four-tenet system becomes important. And all this now, because sometimes it's funny, isn't it, when we went through a path which is difficult, then once you finish it, and then you look back like, wow, this is for that, this is for that. This is necessary, actually. But for a beginning, you thought like it's unnecessary. So here Lama Tsongkhapa is reached the point where he says, now through all this effort, he will say in the below statements. Or the most important, it's saying, in the English, not in English, many of the people who ask a question, they ask a very difficult question. Like, if there could be so many, like one person, they actually study Buddhism, when they interviewed me, they asked me such a difficult question, which I thought I'm really ready for any kind of questions. So they brought up one question saying, because you are a student of His Holiness Dalai Lama, if there is one advice that you can share with us that really changed your life, what could that be? So I just go like, I know that. I couldn't figure it out so much. Then I said, we take a break and we come back.
Then I told you the answer.
So similarly here, Lama Tsongkhapa found that answer actually. So then he can see the importance, the most important, that he can really feel the kindness of the Buddha, because this special teaching on the dependent origination, that now he understood very clearly. So now he has the ability to tame his mind and connects with others, and then compassion. That compassion becomes much stronger than before. So that's why he's saying, Now, I understood all the unnecessary debates. And now I know why it is necessary. So I now understand completely. So there he's saying, this is Dirwa. That is the Sig the Drowache. That's what you call it. Somebody you never get. It is. Da tension signal lesson, Kuji Jesu Lovala, Kubatamji into you, Nigun Zavan Dochiros.
Then verse 31. It says, "You who speak excellently by seeing as it is, for those who train in your footsteps, all degenerations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone."
Da Digi tension signal Lesoba Sidu Zambeta, go Mobinizu Jimaji, country Jimbati, Da Jigi, Nar Jigi, Chadama on Doda was Simzamba, and Umarangi Pado, and Chetamji countries, Shigdishijabadi, Nangsu de Nisuni, any Tundama Tungi, Lajama Bujan Yorede, the Dembang Homa Sonsa di Kawala Son Yorsidu, but the Tingu Bigi, any that chet, because of Nilu Dembekala, Sumba Yinzan, tensions in the Lesoba, any Kugi Jesu Lovala, Kuba Tamji Ring to Jursun, Kuba Sedu Zambe, Tangaranzo Jigi. Aranjo Dishana di Gorba, Kasola Kegana Chig Dungel Soba Aranjo Dunget Kantechi Bainaya, Tata Tamje Paring Rotuachi. Any Nebagunji Zawadi, Maribadi and Dotuachi. Ticharangi, that Banditinju Ludeni, Sunshajo T, and Teledeni that kept on the Zungudu Sungurta.
So what's being said here in the verse 31 is that where it's talking about the root of all, the system, that's been spoken, removing all of our faults, etc., is in terms of understanding how to see things exactly in accord with the way they actually are, the way they actually exist. And although we find in the systems of all of the Buddhist systems in Vaibhashika, Sautantrika, Yogacara, Chittamatra, and Svatantrika, Madhyamaka, up to and including those systems, you see this presentation in all of those systems about an examination of whether the things. A presentation of things in the sense that they do not exist in the way that they appear. That's there, it's in there. But to get the real full sort of perspective on that, the real truth of that, where we can really see the final and complete explanation of that is in the Prasangika Madhyamaka's explanation of the way in which the way and what is the true nature, what is the nature of all phenomena, the mode in which they actually exist beyond their appearance, and that understanding, that perspective of the Prasangika Madhyamaka is what allows us to. It has a huge sort of benefit and advantage to us of understanding that, because that's the system, and the practice and understanding of that system will, as it says here, make all degenerations remote. So this sort of and all faults undone, which is to say that all of our ignorance, all of the sufferings of all kinds of birth, old age, sickness, and death, our ignorance, all of the sort of negative understandings. All of these things will be removed by understanding and practicing the Prasangika system. So 32, then 32. But those who turn away from your teaching, though they may struggle with hardship for a long time, faults increase evermore as if being called forth, for they make firm the view of the self.
In this category, there is a non-Buddhist for sure, but then within the Buddhist schools, or the respect of their school, but it's also saying the Yurinya Vatenche, Chichir Kyonam Beva, Tado Tawa 당진 때문에 당겨 없으는 수도 없어.
So what it's saying here is that this also the verse also applies, of course, to the outsiders, but to the non-Buddhist systems, but to those within the Buddhist world as well, where it's saying that actually what's happening to them in the same way is that the faults continue. Having not understood this teaching, the faults of the faults continue to increase, and what they're doing is making stronger and stronger, more and more strengthening their view of the self, their view of the self. So increasing that view of they're increasing the grasping which clings to a self. So that applies also to some of the practitioners within the Buddhist world.
다 제상가 다 에마오 케베 디니지스 다 에마호 시도 답에 저랑게 송된데 자 첨부디 통경기 켜바되기 이 디니기 켜바를 시도 잠베 다 팅규비기 숑들라 다운데 잠베 정신기 아니 동반이기 따와되기 띵중기 퇴한당 동반이기 퇴한 통원데 잠베 지지리교나 배워봤어도 잠베다 견 베나치게 깨가나치게 동에 탐제 더 투비하게 연전의 통투야 아니 룩샴발라 룩샴발라 아니 단다 다도 따와 템부용 템tem으로 줘야게 된저기 개발이데 통원듯이 아니 대세관계 현안을 켜를 지지 고면주로 딱 저랑게 우마 틴주비 송셰베 따와텔라 이네 딱 그거 맞추는 로사민도 쓰다.
So actually I've translated it wrong at the beginning, so that what it will be able to do, the advantage is it will cease all of our ignorance, understanding the system will cease all of our ignorance, and so put the end to all of our, put an end to this continuum of birth from past birth into future births. So it will put an end to all of our, samsaric rebirths. And so here it's also saying to us that in a sense of real sort of amazement when it says emaho, it says aha in the English, but it's a sense of how incredible and amazing that the wise who are able to see dini karina the
kebatiniesdu tinjubi shungla taundu nigun zawan do tuya nebo kunje zawan do tuya che shambala dado tawaten temro tanya di kebar niya.
So seeing this, so when it says here seeing the differences between these two, it's the difference between the two systems. One which is increasing the view of which will increase our faults ever more and make firm the view of the self, and the one which loosens and eventually eliminates the view of the self and puts an end to such things as continued rebirth and our ignorance and suffering. So it is the wise who comprehend the difference between these two, and so who would not and understanding that this view of understanding of the lack of an intrinsic nature of things and the way in which things still exist as dependent originations, and seeing this prasangika system, who would not seeing the difference between the advantages and disadvantages of those two, who would not pay respect and to the view of this prasangika system?
제상을 단다 increase 랍나 this 마나타비 된다 말베.
Tempo, yeah, firm,
down, more stable.
Stable, yeah. Makes kind of stabilize your view of the self.
Increase 랍에나 베나 넘버 산제 좀된디기 루다마와. 저기 맞아 다도 따와 숙체로 당해 게좀 알아 봐. 저 정말로 다음에 고민해야지. 다음에 봐서야 제도 인도 잠배 다음에 공부요. 다음에 고민해야지. 당진 내야지도 공부요. 이나야 디 탑해봐지네 좀 된디겠다. 내가 밑에려야 그 로사 디마도 메도 잠배 인디 디송해야 되기. 아니 내가 디고 당진 답을 잡디 걸다. 당진 답을 잡디 걸봐. 제가 팅주비기 숑을 송되다 담이 당진 짬에 당야기 너버디 팅주비 숑이요. 그래서 샴바도서 나도 따와 땜으로 당겨요. 그래서 쑥치로 당겨서 계제 맵체. 템보 쓰고 봐.
Yeah, so it is. So I think I translated as increase. So it's not. It wouldn't be increasing their self-grasping, but firming up, sort of strength, firming up their self, making it firm, their view of the self, because all of the Buddhist tenet systems discuss and present ways in which for us to reduce our clinging to a self. So they have their own systems of presentations of the selflessness of person and phenomena, and that is for the purpose of not strengthening but removing or reducing their self-grasping. But here, what it means is that the Buddha and his who is skilled in wise and skilled in means, is giving us this system here, which allows us to not to firm up our view of the self at all, but to cut it away from its root and eventually eliminate it.
개발콘도 제도 제가 켜려지 지금 교송 두 번째 시험에 차시리 된장로 외지점이냐 잡아 대랑 초기 대화때를 따든지 녀라나시 아니 저랑그 다지기 동번 얘기 다 띵중그 된 송샤죠 될라 아니에게 차시리 된장로서도 답에 교랑기 연된디 리선로 주여비나 아니에게 교랑기 연된디 수르직 통해야 돼 아니 얘기 튼지 외지세도 잠배 연주 튼지를 튼지 점비 고안이네 튼지 점식이 다 처음에 예반이 원도 잠배 안할 믹스기 대화 숙충부 시부지 때리기도 아니 어디 때려서 어디 봐도 지로 다니나.
So this verse number 34 now, where it reads, let alone your numerous teachings, even in the meaning of a small part, those who find an ascertainment in a cursory way, this brings supreme bliss to them as well. So even so, as I mentioned before, even only understanding a tiny part of this whole presentation of how emptiness is the meaning of dependent origination, even if someone were to only comprehend a tiny part of that, and it says find ascertainment in a cursory way here, which could also mean maybe in the way of just because I dunchiki sugi gone saying back
튼지 고아서.
Yeah, so getting just a sort of kind of general a general sort of meaning of what it means, some sort of basic or general idea of what it means, something like that. That will bring this feeling of supreme bliss, but also a feeling of also faith and sort of reverence as well. If you can even comprehend only a small part of it in a kind of general way, just getting the general understanding.
차시리는 외지점이 되나 저게다. 기후 달로 몽배 좀 기후세에 더 트랜슬레이션이지 말해.
Alas.
달로 몽배 좀 딘데 연대 풍보라 릉내 잡을 손에 연대 차사 맞춰도 다. 다디 좀 된데기 연대인데 오늘 당부 제원도 잠배 아니 살내베 전주선바 조에 딘데 공고를 쓰도가. 세상가 딱 딘데기 네베 산지 좀 된데기 연대도 통원도 잠배 당할 한다 여버디다 개개렘도 와세치와 제상가 디다 연된 진럽주고 다들와 진럽주고 다차와 제상가 딘제 연된 풍보라 릉내 잡서 송저 좀 답배 답배지 로스 십중업주인가 네 오늘 좀 된데야 잡서 송바이나야 연된 차사 맞춰도 세도 연된 진주마도 얘기 단다 통통면도스.
And so then this the next verse 35, yes, it says alas, which I think I feel is not probably hasn't captured the phrase gehu here. Gehu it has a great sense of because so distress almost, isn't it?
That's it gehu.
That's the translation. My mind is defeated by ignorance, though I've sought my mind is defeated by ignorance, though I've sought refuge for a long time. In such an embodiment of excellence, I possess not a fraction of his qualities. Yeah. So what this means here is what it is talking about the quality. Rinpoche is then expressing the qualities of the Buddhas and the sort of incredible qualities of the Buddha, and saying to us that although it is said that beings on the paths and on the grounds of the bodhisattva levels are able to sort of directly see many of the qualities of the Buddha, directly. For someone like myself, though because I've been defeated by ignorance, and have sought refuge for 40 or 50 years of my life, having sought refuge, and still I have only seen a small fraction of the qualities that the Buddha possesses. So I think here it says, I possess not a fraction.
Di naro ya yenden cha samma chödo sedo zembe sosolo jane digro ba dindi ji ngala ya ta sanje gi jitawa tobe gi ta jitawa dire to thanda di ji di jane digro ba jitawa tobe gi di gi samlo de chashi jamchima do.
So there are two ways to see this. One is the way in thinking that I've only seen a small part of your qualities in the way that these other, higher, greater beings would be able to see so many more qualities. And so this is actually a sort of, even though he says it in that way, that's a sort of sign that a kind of inspiration or the blessings have come to J. Rinpoche actually by saying that. Another way to take it would be if we were to say that J. Rinpoche is only having sought refuge for a long time. In this embodiment of excellence, I have slowly, when it says I possess not a fraction of his qualities, this could also be understood in the way of saying that I have seen a little bit of the view, this view that we were talking of, dependent origination and emptiness. I've seen a little bit of that view, so therefore I possess a fraction of the qualities. So you can interpret this in two different ways.
So the teacher says something like this. And then we students get a little bit of like, if the great Lama Tsongkhapa says something like this, what will happen to me? This is actually to take down our pride, actually. Normally we can explain a bit and then we're just so much proud, no? Then this pride has this power to cease or to stop, to get more inspirations. So that is something. So Lama Tsongkhapa can get receive all the inspirations and blessing of the Buddha because he's making room there to receive it, actually. So that's why he's teaching that to us. Then he will not say like, now I'm desperate. But he will now move on. This is how I like it. Wenyan chita kharcho be sogi gyune manubar kyolo jungse yicheba dianggewa sangnamji. Tati shine Lama Tsongkhapa ta nyamtönsa de denon ko.
And so here we read 36 now, and it says, nonetheless, before the stream of this life flowing towards death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you, even this I think is fortunate. So it's because of Nyamlin ki dösa Nyamlin dösa sembe.
Nyamtönsa ta kurangi cheju dönsa.
This is sort of Rinpoche sort of speaking out on his experience or qualities now here. So it says, nevertheless, before the stream of life flowing towards death has come to cease, I have found slight faith in you. Even this, I think, is fortunate. So
in the monasteries, when this is where we kind of give for silence for a bit. So it's more like now we are so proud. Even it's saying in the also similar to the 7 points of mind training. In there, it's there's a word saying now even the time comes to for me to die. I will die without any regrets. At that point. So this is the where, as a beginner, we need to reach there. Not like very fast. It's too fast. So this is the where you just like, yes. Now even something happens, but I have utilized this precious human life up to now. I could say that I have a faith to the Buddha.
So a stable faith which is brought on by sort of using sort of valid reasoning.
That His Holiness says also. His Holiness time to time says that. People say I am a Chenrezig and so on, but for me, I share transparently to you that up to now I'm practicing bodhicitta, emptiness every day. So now I have come to this point, like Dhamma Tsongkhapa stop here. This is same how His Holiness puts this. So I say, even His Holiness says I am a Chenrezig, then what will you do? Oh, give me the initiation. That He's giving. The biggest doubt is whether we are receiving it or not. But now He is saying like, oh, I push all these efforts. 50, 60, 70 years I've been practicing emptiness and emptiness. Now I reach to this level. So still we are not getting much. But they are saying like, oh. So we need to, my teacher would always say, sometimes we shouldn't pray that we meet a Buddha and receive a teaching. We need urgency. In front of you there would be a Lama, whatever the certain level of practice that there's a blockage is there. I need this kind of teacher in front of me. Even it's a animal, it doesn't matter. I need this. I need this. So one time I visit my teacher at his place, and he was I noticed he was very sad. And then I thought like, what? Maybe today I'm not in a good timing. So then we discussed, and Gyala was still just crying a bit. And then I said, what happened? He was saying, now today I was just going through the practice of how to deal with the 8 worldly concerns. It's so difficult. Here I can teach and I can practice. So many options are there. But where I'm struggling the most at the moment is the 8 worldly concerns. So that's how he's making a prayer that may I get an example saying like, you can do it. I done that. This is how we do it. I need this kind of a friend, a teacher, the Buddha. Not like only just saying like, I can give you the full enlightenment now. So that's how I found quite a powerful teaching. Then give us Sanyam Jiche. Tateneman Roni. Tatembe Nane Tende Tobatan, Sherab Nan Tende Shevani, Jidan Tanaje, Umbushin, Fusion de what you means.
And then this 37, verse 37. And it says, among the teachers, the teacher of dependent origination. Amongst wisdoms, the knowledge of dependent origination. You who are most excellent, like the kings in the worlds, know this perfectly well, not others.
So now there's in this world not much kings are left, but for you there's a king.
Yeah. No.
Oh. What's that?
Trump wants to be.
Yeah. This is what we say, result refuge.
Resultant refuge. Resultant refuge.
So the King Charles,
King Charles.
your king. The best of best, my King Charles. So similar here, saying there are so many teachers in this world, but why I call you the best of the teachers, because you give this teaching which I need. So there could be in the world so many extraordinary peoples, but we give the highest respect to the king. So this is how Lama Tsongkhapa is adding together like that. 다 최지 진이까지 봐 땡땡년의 점도 주 대안년년의 주디 신줄면서 켜라 메스.
And then it's 38, which reads, all that you have taught proceeds by way of dependent origination. That too is done for the sake of nirvana. You have no deeds that do not bring peace.
다 내가 전부를 가르치는 산지 좀 된 되기 쭉 간대지 송바이나양 동번이 맞된배 깜면서 제장가 야나 오스땡고래 야나 윤이 땡고 요래 제장 란저기 때처럼 되는 신디를 하요 대코나니라야 안 바바 아바 셜와세지 그래서 용고요 봐 어디나 신 산지 좀 된 되기 동이 맞된배 깜지요 말했어 가르쳤으나 툭 닝지 침배 샤만도 교거래스 대양 닝지 침부 저기 닝지들 숨여베 나로네 아니 민멜님이 닝지기 슈기 아니 동모니 마덴바 탑이요 말스다 제단 디나 신체제 딘중 마덴베 고급이요 말했어 어떻게 숨고요.
So this is something which is quite a complex an important thing that's being said actually in this verse, because he says at the beginning there, all that you've taught proceeds by way of dependent origination. And so what is often says is that whatever form of the teachings the teachings the Buddha gave, that there was no time when he was not teaching about emptiness and dependent origination. So then of course there may be some way, we may have some doubts about that, and maybe there's a way to understand when he's talking explicitly about emptiness and dependent origination, and sometimes when he's talking implicitly about it. But also there's also another context when we talk about engagement with suchness or emptiness, and the way in which there's a sort of three Yeah, so it's a phrase which it talks about three different ways in which we engage with emptiness, and one is something which turns us in the direction of emptiness, called sholwa in Tibetan. The next one is that we start to descend towards it in some way, and the last one is when we have actually fully descended upon it. So it's called the phrase shol bapa in Tibetan, which, and this I was just asking, is found in the Lam Rim text, but it probably comes from the Indian treatises. And so we orientate ourselves towards emptiness, you descend upon it, but then have descended on it. And so this could also be a context in which we could explain how all of the teachings proceed by way of dependent origination. And it would, in a sense, this would have to be the case that whatever the Buddha taught proceeded by way of dependent origination, because the Buddha is inspired by what we call non-referential compassion, which is within there are three sort of levels, or three levels of compassion, and the third level of compassion is called non-referential compassion. And since the Buddha is fully enthused or inspired with this form of compassion, then there would never, which is in relation to emptiness, there would never be a time when he would not be teaching emptiness in some way. So that's perhaps another way to explain this. So Rinpoche send it in the group because it's an important way of translating.
I always remember one of my teachers, Gen Gyazula, who would say, in a teaching, I clearly see this. He says, like, if Buddha raised his hand like this, and then one student has to come and make a prostration and say, why did you raise your hand? You shouldn't lose this opportunity. So then he says, oh, I remember at the time this, and then I practice like this. So then this is why this practice is so important. So clearly he has always something to do with the teaching. Why this teaching is coming? Because of out of compassion. Why this compassion? Then because he sees that how we are struggling, and through this self-grasping, in order to get rid of this, he has made a commitment. So this is how this teaching, his teaching, all the activities he does, that there's no
there's no time when he's not teaching on emptiness.
Bless you.
Verse 39. Alas, your teaching is such, in whoever's ears it falls, they all attain peace. So who would not be honored to uphold your teaching?
It's true, because if somebody really is trying to tame his mind, and then he come to realize that in order to tame your mind, then there's only one way to give a good fight with this self-grasping. And then, without Buddha's teaching, there's no help. This is the only door. So, Lama Tsongkhapa is saying this.
Verse 40. It overcomes all opposing challenges. It's free from contradictions between earlier and latter parts. It grants fulfillment of being's two aims. For this system, my joy increases evermore. So this is this verse 40. What it's presenting to us here is that in terms of the when we have the sort of the two sort of streams of sort of teaching or transmission of the Buddhist teachings, we have the sort of scriptural teachings, and then we have those of realization. And here, this is what this verse is explaining to us, is the three criteria through which we explain the tremendous value of the scriptural teachings of the Buddha, of the scriptural system. So it says that it overcomes all opposing challenges. It is free from contradiction between earlier things that were said and things that are said later on, and it grants the fulfillment of the two aims of beings. So these are this is the three criteria of what it means to be this kind of scriptural teachings of the Buddha.
디 빵야네 송데 아니 셈zem베게 소진인동기 아니 따와디 차상 마 가야기 아니 딜라야 다 단다 롱게 템바스도 템베다 우마 팅규베기 롱게 템바들와 딘디 디네 쉬워 배교 타다 점바
Yes, so we can also understand this not just in terms of the Buddha's teachings in general, but actually in terms of the Prasangikas, the Buddha's teachings which reveal the Prasangika system. And so in that way in which, particularly in relation to the first line where it says it overcomes all opposing challenges, that this would be opposing the challenges of the lower systems in terms of clinging to a sort of subtle clinging to a permanence of a permanent self, and then up to also for systems such as refuting the Yogacara Chittamata system, where things are said to be the apprehended and the apprehender are not said to be separate. It's said to be non-separate in that system, so it refutes that also presentation from Yogacara. So the Prasangika, this complete Prasangika system is able to has these criteria also, and is able to overcome all opposing challenges to it.
다니버데 아니 두다마와 야 다지 틴 랑교에 menje 차상기 안에 규디 말로나 드부드 로고 말레스 규 군중디 말로나 드부 동에 덴바드 로고 말레 진짜 딱봐 송도 송고 열때 이나야 규라야 덴바 다도 두버지 라 다도 두버지나 랑은도 두버지 다야게 랑은도 두버지 데니 드부라야 랑은도 두버지체 덴데 진체 아니 긴두 첨부 덴데지 규 말로 바라 드부로고 말슬랍 규델라야 네 가서 그래 랑은도 두버지 드불라 랑은 두버지네 뽕야지 라본도 좀 긴두 첨부 시브레스 덴데기 긴두 덴데디 땡큐 바라 통하여 말레스.
And so, because they are the nibade saying, dalo saying. So, and then in terms of this second criteria, and so this is thinking about the relation of what particularly the Prasangika, the specific criteria and advantages of the Prasangika system in terms of that second criteria, where it frees from contradictions between earlier and latter parts, and here. Particularly the contradiction that would be discussed here will be the contradiction in terms of how other systems apart from the Prasangika will present things, in terms of presenting how in order to prevent the causes from arising, we have to overcome and eliminate the results from arising. We have to overcome and eliminate the causes of them, particularly in relation to the first noble truths of if we wish to avoid the unwanted result of suffering, then we have to overcome the cause of it, which is the truth of the cause of suffering. But these earlier systems talk about being able to overturn those causes, the causes such as the truth of suffering. But what they do is they take the cause to be existent from its own side, and they take the result to exist from its own side. A result, they take the inherently existent causes and see results as inherently existent as well, and then talk about abandoning those kind of things. So that is also a contradiction in itself, to talk about finding a way of abandoning those things when you're clinging on to them to be inherently existent. And so the third line, the third criteria, it grants fulfillment of beings. Two aims would be the temporary aims, and then the long-term ultimate aims of the beings.
다 터두기 안에 된 때를 중에다 반대 튕기비고 쇼는 마대바 안 조사매가 차로가
And so here, also what this means in terms of, sort of more short-term and then more ultimate aims is the short-term would be the attainments such as the higher rebirths in the samsaric world, and the long-term and ultimate aims would be that of either attaining liberation or complete enlightenment. And then we have to think about what sort of system is able to provide us, to give us that the desired result of, and it's possible that those desired results, and it's possible that on the basis of the lower systems there may be some ability to provide us with that those initial short-term purposes, such as to attain higher states of liberation, but it's only the glorious Prasankhya Madhyamaka system that will be able to provide us with those long-term aims of achieving liberation and complete enlightenment.
다 디치도 켜지네 라라고다 신도수 두배년다 롱저도 참에 개발 양양 땅세 다 디간레스.
Then we come to verse 41. For its sake you have given away again and again over countless eons, sometimes your body, at others your life, as well as your loving kin and the resources of wealth.
다 딘제기 딘데스 제르무지기 송고래 딘제기 딘데 상면 최디 안절이야 다직 단다 녀지다 삼야지다 고급 딘데지 라야디 아니 계랑기 나르게 뒤서 딘제기 딘중 되게 딘중다 동백이 고화디 탈침버지 녀 체도 아니 개와 정매발래 아니 지기 류 롱주 아니 배지기 차장배 땅제 아니 개와 정매발래야 소남다 이시고 초 사바 텔레데니 다 중국 인도 전배 아니 타지도 셈딩네 아니 딘제기 최들이야 아니 알 딘제 고가라바디 시버지기 답에 좀 된데기 딱 가서 그래 거진 선거도 선거다.
And this is the verse 41 is an expression, J. Rinpoche's expression of incredible sort of gratitude for having understood chomdendegi so speaking of how the way of discovering and finding and then understanding and being able to contemplate and develop understanding of this profound Dharma of the dependent origination, and how so Rinpoche is praising the Buddha and saying, in order to sort of understand this and have this opportunity to be able to this incredible opportunity to be able to think about and contemplate and meditate on this dependent understanding of dependent origination and the understanding that of the meaning of dependent origination and emptiness and the meaning and relation of those, you've given away over countless eons your all of your resources, your body, your wealth, everything in order to be able to have this opportunity to be able to understand the profound meaning of dependent origination, and therefore sort of having deep within the mind this incredible appreciation for the opportunity to be able to do this.
So we heard the stories of the great Buddha in one of his lifetime. That there is the mother tiger, and then the four the cubs, right?
Yes, the cubs. Cubs.
And then he saw this. They are suffering a lot. So then he has given his own body to them to survive. And then we see great compassion. But we miss the biggest piece there, that he made a prayer that giving this kind of flesh and whatever I feel so dearly here, I am going to give this to them, that in near future, may I have the greatest understanding of the emptiness and the dependent origination, so then in the future I can not only just satisfy their temporary suffering, satisfy
hunger,
satisfy hunger,
yeah, their hunger too.
but in the future that I can have a merit to give them the teaching when I realize that. So then we say when he got a fully enlightenment, when he gave the Four Noble Truth teaching, these 5 wonderful beings are the reincarnation of the
Tigress and the cubs.
who ate Buddha's flesh. So this was the connection. We normally don't put the most important part, that this prayer that he made before this offering to them. So that's why Lama Tsongkhapa has added here now. So now, like tomorrow, when we meet here for the consecration, so we need to have this feeling. When you first look at the Buddha, you've done a lot to us. And then actually, what you really need us, through your compassion, is to now to wake up, to be stronger. Normally we say be strong, but in the general means, like be strong means not much. If you ask the person, or what do you mean like strong, then he does not have quite a great teaching there. But this is the teaching, how we need to overcome the suffering. So this is how Lama Tsongkhapa appreciates Buddha, so we need to appreciate Buddha. So tomorrow is a big day. So then 강기 연된 통원이 적유냐라 지신도 니지 두단 최되니 튀레마도 개와신 디년이 휴긴 누구에 볼라마이 제수 송화 지신도 다기 이니 똥미체스.
And then we'll read verses 42 and 43. Seeing the qualities of this teaching pulls hard from your heart, just like what a hook does to a fish. Sad it is not to have heard it from you. And then 43. The intensity of that sorrow does not let go of my mind, just like the mind of a mother goes after her dear child.
So this is quite a carries us very strong how he Lama Tsongkhapa connects to the Buddha, saying this, it looks like the fish is the Lama Tsongkhapa himself in this ocean of the suffering. So then there comes the hook, which is the compassion of the Buddha, and then it pulls out from this suffering. So why he really did it? Because he so much compassion towards all of us. He has given this teaching. So Dagi Yini now, because he has given me the something to fight against this self-grasping, so now I will never let this go. This is the statement of Lama Tsongkhapa in this paragraph. Now this is very beautiful. I like this so much, because now Lama Tsongkhapa will bring the image of the Buddha in front of it. That's how this is the time. So similarly, I try to do my practice, visualization, to think through the dependent origination, so on, and kindness, and how to fight with my ignorance, and so on. Then slowly, then you just feel like, even I cannot do it, but I'm not going to give up, because these and these are so great. This is a golden opportunity for me as born as a human, and to use this intelligent way.
Yes, yes. You need human intelligence.
And so now, then, this is where Lama Tsongkhapa was saying, Dila Chusong Sambana, Tsembepe Rabdobar, Veji Tabe Yongobe, Tumba Di Sayan, Dinin Dila Sunyan, Yilla Tube Sunyan, Sharwatamian Tawa, Dunglan Dasrishin Domens. So then, I think this is where your imagination of the Buddha becomes very strong. Like when you think of someone whom you really love someone very much, very dearly, and then there are some certain points, maybe when you are going through a difficult time, and then you will remember that person like so strongly, vividly. Right? It seems like this here.
Oh yes, so we should read verses 44 and 45. Here too, as I reflect on your words, I think, blazing with the glory of noble marks and hallowed in a net of light rays, this teacher in a voice of pristine melody spoke thus in such a way. Spoke thus in such a way. The instant such a reflection of the sage's form appears in my mind, it soothes me, just as the moon rays heal fever's pains.
Oh, did you? Okay. So now it's 4 o'clock. Stop here. So there are so many things to bring together for tomorrow. So don't forget that. So tomorrow when you say consecration, actually Buddha does not need a consecration. We need a consecration. So to see something ordinary, extraordinary, you need to find some extraordinary, and then you can say, this is extraordinary. Right? Otherwise, then you will just looking at one statue and say, wow, amazing, beautiful, that's it. The essence, which is the dependent origination that has Buddha given to us a long time ago. It is amazing that we can guarantee, say, that all of us who's hearing just a word of dependent origination, we have made a strong karmic connection from the long time with the Buddha. But of course, we have been not a good student. That's why we are still wondering. But we made a connection because the causes and condition. We can guarantee say that. So now go through this with the brief, and then you try to connect to the Buddha's teaching, and then to the Buddha. Okay. So thank you very much.
May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of the wholesome teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha. that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzing Gyatso Chenrezi, may you stay until samsara ends. May the speeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the West Florida.